Elephant Song is about a psychiatrist who is handed the task of interrogating one of the mental institution's disturbed patients about the sudden disappearance of another psychiatrist. The missing doctor was actually the one treating the patient, and the hospital staff have reason to believe that he might know more about the incident than he is willing to reveal, and might possibly even be involved in it, one way or another. This is the type of movie that initially convinces you that it is about a certain event, when in fact it actually is about something completely else. This really isn't a story about figuring out the disappearance of a person. Rather, it is a much more complicated character study. And when I say study, I'm not just referring to the character that is literally being investigated. It doesn't take long before the lines really start to blur, and after a while you're not really sure who's pulling strings and who's not. More often than not, it is the patient who is in control, played brilliantly by Xavier Dolan, I might add, and it is from him that most of the heart, the humor, the suspense, and the entertainment value of this film comes from. This is the type of crazy person you would really love to have as your friend, trust me. He is such a master in playing these mind games, in leading this doctor down these dead-end roads, for no other apparent reason than his own amusement. It is a real joy to watch, honestly. He is such a crafty and resourceful person when it comes to just manipulating the people around him, that you actually start admiring him. It might seem like it's all fun and games for a while. However, both patient and doctor prove to be people not without their individual dark sides. This whole film is based on the interplay between two main characters, meaning the doctor and patient, and to a lesser extent two side characters, the head nurse of the hospital, played by Catherine Keener, and the doctor's wife, played by Carrie-Anne Moss. You realize that there is this bizarre love-hate relationship going on between these characters, between all of these characters, between the doctor and the patient, between the patient and the nurse, between the doctor and his wife, between the wife and the nurse. It is a fairly effective script because you always feel like you're one step behind, and all of the information that gets revealed to you is through the interplay between these characters. Now, while I definitely think that that's one of the strengths of the film, I also think that it's the source of one of its most major flaws. And that's because this film is based on a play, which means that it's going to be very dialogue heavy, very dialogue driven, and that just means that there is a lot more information that is going to be spoken rather than shown. The reason why I personally prefer film over theater is because I really like composition, framing, editing. Now, I'm not shitting on theater or anything, but because of the fact that theater lacks all of those elements I personally prefer to others, makes it seem, for me, in a certain way, a little bit limiting. And that's how this film felt to me after a while. It felt very limited. It is probably a film that relies very heavily on the play it is based on, which means that it probably incorporates most, if not all, of its dialogue. And it just felt like something that was a lot more narrated rather than shown, which is kind of strange because they do actually have some flashback scenes here. Beautifully shot, composition wise, and everything. But it's always happening with the character narrating in the background, always telling you exactly what it is that happened, how he or she felt about what happened. And because of that, it just didn't feel like it was something that left too much up to the imagination for me. There is even this whole subplot, which I'm not going to get in too much detail because I don't want to spoil it. But it involves the doctor and his family, his wife and young daughter. And it's just this whole idea that even he, as a doctor, as a psychiatrist, might not be the most stable person, might not be the best father he could be. Everyone was just flat out saying exactly how they were feeling, what they were feeling. And it just made the whole film feel lacking in certain areas. Like it wasn't enough of a movie. It was still too much of a play. But I would still wholeheartedly recommend it because even though it wasn't as maybe as emotional as I would have wanted it to be, just the performances alone, I mean, almost all of the performances are top notch. They are just powerhouse performances. It really, if you watch this as you would watch a play, you just, you go to see great actors be on top of their game. And that's what it is. And that makes this a pretty exceptional film, in my opinion. So that's it, people. That was my 2 cents. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon with another review. Cheers.